Hello, welcome everyone to episode 6 of F3. And if you're wondering what F3 stands for, it is Feast, Famine, Freelancing.
Woo!
We did it.
Yeah, look at us go.
I'm so proud of us.
I'm proud
I'm
of you.
proud of
I'm
pride.
technologically challenged, so I'm proud of you.
So here we are for episode 6. We have 5 episodes on the books, and here we are. That's pretty
Magic
exciting.
6.
Yeah, exactly. Episode 6,
And
Pivot
also,
6.
it's the first week of December.
It
Jesus.
sure is. Yeah. And December, as you and I both know, is a very magical month
Yes, because someone's
for so many
birthday.
reasons.
Birthday time.
So, yes, I'm excited. We are actually exactly 10 days away from my birthday. Whoop, whoop. So, lots to celebrate, lots to be grateful for. That's not what you're here for. You know what? We're just going to get into it, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
All right. So, we have two, maybe 2.5 topics on the docket, depending on how much time we have, that we're going to discuss today. And Sam, why don't we tell the lovely folks at home what we're going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about how to set up a productive workstation
Mhm.
and Amazon. I guess like uploading books, or
Yeah,
am I covering that correctly?
yeah, pretty
Like how
close.
to
So,
master the world of Amazon to share your work and generate business, publish.
exactly. I came across something that was perturbing for me, and I decided to have a little rant with Sam via text about how absurd I thought it was. And we're bringing it here because it's pretty relevant. As we said, this is about freelancing, how to build up your side income. And there's a really cool way to do that. Does not require any other human involvement, actually, at least from your side. But we'll talk, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the topic, because how are we doing the order? What are your thoughts?
Oh my god, I hit the mute button by accident. Sorry. I'm like talking away.
Hey, that's how
I
we
think
do,
we should
that's
do
how
the
we roll here.
workstation first because that I think the other topic will be much longer to discuss.
That's what she said.
Oh damn
Yeah,
it.
it worked. I think it
It
worked.
did
I think it worked.
work.
Okay, good, good. I was hoping for that. All right, so yes, let's talk workstations. As we mentioned, when you are freelancing, you have to have a well equipped home office. So it's not just, hey, I want to freelance, but I have no equipment. You need some equipment if you're going to freelance, especially if you're going to freelance online. Obviously, actually, not obviously, because even if you're a freelance photographer, obviously you can't do that without a camera. You still need
Yeah.
equipment. We're going to focus on the equipment that you need if you are interested in freelancing from your computer, because that's what we do here. So we thought it'd be pretty relevant. And overwhelmingly, and not saying that there aren't other opportunities, I think you'll find that the bulk of the opportunities require you to have a computer. Yeah, so you should start there. We're assuming you have a computer, but if you don't, you're going to want to invest in one. That's step one.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think usually I know for me a laptop is the way to go.
yep.
I know that sounds silly to say because you can be mobile. If
Yeah,
you have
you
a
want to be
freelance
portable.
project, you could take your laptop with you if you're like going somewhere to wait for something.
Yeah, absolutely. So you definitely want to be portable. You don't want to have to be or trying to lug a traditional desktop. That's not
Yeah,
going to be
with
practical.
your
I
monitor
mean, trying to imagine it. I guess you could, but it'd be clunky.
and bulky.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and to Sam's point, I use an iPad because it's my jam. And to be, what's funny about it is that I wasn't always an Apple fan. I moved to the dark side slowly. And so when I finally got the iPad, I've never gone back. But what's ironic about it, because you might be saying to yourself, you can't do everything on an iPad that you can do with a traditional personal computer. Au contraire, mon frère. Mhm. Actually, there's this really cool thing that it was a discovery I wish I had made sooner, and I'm annoyed that I didn't. But you know what? We're not going to cry over spilled milk. No, we're not.
Nope, we're
Uh,
gonna move forward.
we sure are. So there's this fantastic product, in my opinion, of course, that Microsoft offers. It's called the Cloud PC. What's a Cloud PC, Nicole? I'm glad you asked.
I was just
A
gonna
cloud.
ask that, but you beat me to it.
So a cloud PC is just as it sounds. It's a computer in the clouds, in the virtual internet clouds, if you will. Obviously, there's a server farm somewhere that's running the computer physically. But what's really awesome about it is you can have a virtual PC on the go. Now, this is not to be confused because I know that there's another option where you can do, I don't know if it's still called this, so if it isn't, my bad, but it's called Go to My PC, where you can virtually log into a physical computer. This is not that. This is even better. You can actually purchase a virtual PC from Microsoft on a monthly subscription. So you can go as low as, I think the lowest option they have is like 30 to 40 bucks a month. I'll try to look it up so we can put the right numbers in here. I, of course, consume a lot of data and content. So I've got, I wouldn't say Cadillac because it got some higher options and nobody's going to spend that kind of money. But I do have a pretty tricked out virtual PC, which allows me all of the features that I would have if I had an actual non Apple laptop. And that's fantastic because there are certain software programs you cannot run on an iPad, which I'm sure a lot of you know that use iPads. So I've got InDesign on there, which is awesome. I've got,
Well,
yeah, go
sorry, I
ahead.
don't mean to interrupt you. I'm like listening to this and my computer's like kind of going a little wonky. So I'm like, now
Uh
I'm like, I'm thinking of doing this
oh,
with I'm
seriously,
thinking of getting an iPad to do this.
I love this. To me, I have never, I don't honestly, this is being 100% for real. I haven't owned a laptop since I bought my iPad, and I've had my iPad for a really long time. Not decades, but I'm saying in terms of technological years, it's 7 or so years. And so that, and that just speaks to the durability of generally Apple products. Not, this is not a shameless plug, like I'm just stating facts, right? But what I'm saying is that I have an actual literal computer within my iPad, which to me, as a nerd, it just gives me so much joy to to just have this whole virtual system that I can tap into at any time. Highly recommend, especially if you're not necessarily a fan, but if you prefer a non-Apple computer, this is the way you get it. My personal virtual PC has 32 gigs of RAM. It is a monster. I love it. And RAM for, I'm going to try not to be too geeky. It's going to be, Sam, you're going to have to rein me back in on this.
I
Because
can't.
I
I'm
will.
fascinated. I can't do it.
I will go down this hole and you won't be able to pull me out. So, RAM ready access memory, which is what your computer uses to actually run all of your applications. If you run a lot of programs that have very heavy on design that use a lot of memory and storage, you're going to want a high amount of RAM. I have 32 gigs. I personally sometimes feel like that's not enough, but that's a lot to be clear. You probably, the average person can get away with 8 gigs, maybe even 4, if you're not running anything but general word processing programs like Word or Excel. You don't need that much. But if you're a designer like Sam, if you are doing a lot of heavy multitasking, if you're getting the computer because you want to be a gamer, maybe that's your freelancing gig. You could be a professional gamer. That's a thing. People make money off of that. You're going to want to have a high amount of RAM, and it goes up even higher than that. I don't remember off the top the highest amount, but it's crazy how much RAM you can get for a computer that's not physically here. That's pretty awesome. So there's a monthly subscription attached, of course. And you might be saying to yourself, what's the point of paying monthly when I can just pay one time and have a physical computer? You can absolutely do that. For me personally, this works well because my computer will never be out of date. As the moment you buy a computer, it begins depreciating, depreciating. You know what I'm saying? It begins lowering in value. So for me, there's so much value to having a monthly subscription where the computer is perpetually always up to date. That is my love language, technology. That is what works for me. I highly recommend it. I will do my best to put the link. No, we don't have discount codes yet, but hey, Microsoft, if you're listening, send us a code. We're happy to promote it. So, yeah, virtual PCs are my jam, especially because I can pair it with my iPad and it literally gives me the best of both worlds. I have a non Apple product where I can do my work for clients that don't use, or for some reason I can't, the software that I work with them isn't compliant with Apple, or compatible, not compliant, compatible. But then on the other side, I have my iPad with my Apple environment, which is for everything else that I do. So I highly recommend, if you're in the market for a laptop. Also, if you can't afford to spend $1,000 or something dollars on a physical product, here's how you can get around it. Personally, my monthly subscription is $130 a month, but again, I have 32 gigs of RAM. I have 200 gigs for the hard drive, the storage space. So obviously it's going to be higher. But if you don't need that much, you can start at a lower tier and it becomes more affordable. If you don't have $1,000 and your computer just died on you, then here's a good alternative. You can actually have a virtual PC today if you really wanted it. Couldn't recommend it more. I super, super love it. And that I will calm myself down and drink some water while Sam takes over. Sam, are you still with us?
I did it again. The dog
Like
was
you're so
barking,
quick.
so I apologize. While we were talking, I went on Apple, not promoting Apple or anything, just to see the price of the iPads and stuff. And they have the monthly thing, so
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, and you can go to Amazon, and that's the other thing too. And I'm sure this is capitalistic, so we're not at all trying to say that, oh, there's something benevolent about these options. But when you're just starting out, you're doing all of this on your own, and you have all these expenses. If there are ways to make it more affordable, why not capitalize on it? Amazon has a lot of different payment
Yeah,
options you can use. You can do Affirm, you can do Klarna, and
yep.
these are
And
all
now
different.
there's,
Yeah,
oh my God, what is Afterpay is now on
yeah.
there?
There's, I don't know, I think Zip is another option too. So basically these are all providers that let you say, hey, we will front you the money for your purchase and then you can pay us back in installments. And for the average working person, that might be just exactly what you need to get yourself started. So we're here to show you ways to get your business up and running that don't require $5,000. Heck, $1,000 is prohibitive for some people. $500 can be prohibitive. You might not have that kind of money, but if you have a regular 9 to 5 and you can allocate a little bit at a time, then you can actually purchase the equipment that you need without feeling like I'm gonna have to save for a year in order
Yeah.
to get me this. And then by the time I save that money, it'll be obsolete. And then I won't even have the money I need to get the actual computer that I need.
Yeah, and they're actually, while you were talking about Amazon, they're on sale on Amazon.
Yeah, and this is the perfect time too. We have Black Friday, Cyber Monday. There's all these ridiculous deals that are available that you can use to get the equipment that you need, because the goal ultimately, if you're interested in freelancing, obviously you're trying to supplement your income, or if you're transitioning to full-time freelancing, you just want to be independent and self-sufficient without being beholden or obligated to an employer. And either way, you're going to need equipment to do that. And we're not going to show you here, oh, yeah, just use our system and just pay 5,000. No, this is just regular, everyday. Here's how you can get access to good equipment for a reasonable price or for a plan that you can afford, right? And so, either option, if you can't, maybe you don't have $700, or I think there's like some that are even a little bit lower for an iPad. Personally, I'm not recommending iPad because I own it. I have had non Apple tablets before. Actually, I was Android all the way up until I switched over. And I found that I was replacing my equipment a lot more frequently because my equipment, not because it became obsolete, but because it just, the capacity wasn't there. And I've been able to keep my iPad for as long as I have it. For me, 7 years is a long time. And especially because I'm a heavy user of data and software and programs. and my iPad has been able to keep up with me, and I still have no interest in replacing. I'm going to ride this puppy until the wheels come off.
Yeah.
To be clear, because I'm not, even though I'm all about technology, I'm not always chasing the next model. If it's working great, guess what? Still going to use it.
And the
Just,
best part
yeah.
too is that these are tax write-offs.
Yes, absolutely. So keep that in mind too. If you're doing this for your business, you can write this stuff off. We're not saying write off a lunch that you went just because. Let's know the difference, guys. But we're saying if you have equipment or monthly subscriptions that you are purchasing for the sole purpose of your business of freelancing, that's a write off. That means that you can say, hey, here are the expenses I had at the end of the year, and you can offset that against your taxes. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and also you can another write-off too is the subscriptions. So like I
Yes.
have the Adobe Cloud subscription as well as Shutterstock and a couple other programs, so those also count as write-offs.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do even the flex jobs that we mentioned where you're using
Oh
that,
yes, yep.
you absolutely can write that off because, again, this is where you find work. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of options or opportunities that you can leverage to offset your expenses because at the end of the day, you want to not put yourself at a disadvantage or get some of that money back. So it's not just like going out into the ether and there goes
Yeah.
that.
I also
So
claim my cell phone bill because I use my cell phone for
yeah,
contacts. Obviously, I do tax write-offs for electricity and items for your office.
yeah,
And also if you have
absolutely.
to travel for freelance, your mileage and gas.
Yep, yes, to all of those things, absolutely.
So I just
About
wanted
yeah,
to throw that in there. So if you're considering a purchase, there's just know that you can totally write that off on your taxes.
yes,
Just save your
absolutely.
receipts. Like I save all my receipts.
Save everything. There are so many apps out there. I don't have any at the top of my head, but even something as simple as using your doggone phone and use the camera on your phone and take a picture of your receipts. If you are like me, and I am notorious for this, so that this is why I say this, the moment you give me a piece of paper, it will disappear. It's
Yep.
magical that way. I have this knack for making things disappear that I need to hold on to. Just
Oh,
ask
me
my
too.
alien cards that I lost. Fun fact, that is actually how I got my citizenship, by the way. I refused to pay for my second alien card replacement because I already paid for one. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be cheaper to just get my citizenship. So that's what I'm doing. So, yes, I have a knack for making things disappear and not in a good way. So, what I'm
I'm the
saying
person
is,
that puts things in places to keep them safe, and I don't remember where
forget
I
some.
put
And then you
them.
forget where you put them.
Yeah.
Exactly. I say this to say, I would highly recommend the moment you have a receipt that you're going to need to write off or use in your taxes, take a picture of it immediately. Immediately.
Yes, and then
Please.
save a little file.
And then put the paper in a box or something like that. Because if for some reason you ever get audited, they're going to need to see the actual physical copy. But still, take pictures of them. If nothing else, you can either use an app or, like I said, just take a picture of it and then you have it saved electronically at least. And as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you shouldn't be audited. The only, I'm not an expert here. I'm not a tax expert, so please don't consider this tax advice, guys. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is, as long as,
Me neither.
yeah, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're not writing off like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and you're just a one person operation and the IRS is going to be like, I'm sorry, what's happening here? We need to investigate. As long as you're just doing like regular things that are on the up and above board, you'll be okay.
Yep. And also, like, if you have an account, I would suggest when you purchase things, you know how it says checkout as guest, I would not do that and create an account so you always
Oh,
have that
absolutely.
backup as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yes,
I know these
absolutely.
kind of sound obvious and stuff, maybe to some people, like, oh, like, of course I do that. But sometimes I don't think about it. Like, I'm in a rush and I just don't feel like entering all my information. So I check out
Yeah,
as guest. And I just did that for something on eBay, did a checkout as guest. And now I don't have an order number or anything. And I have no idea where the things I
yeah.
purchased are.
So,
So,
and I don't
yes.
think you should, yeah, I think that it's easy. It seems something so innocuous and so it's easy to forget. I think it's the more important thing. I don't think that people don't think about it. I think it's just something that seems so small at the time, but then if you keep doing that, it will accumulate.
Yeah.
And then it snowballs into something bigger that you're like, oh crap, if I had just done this thing back, then I wouldn't be in this situation. Yeah, I
Yep.
totally agree with that. I was going to say something else and I totally lost my train of thought, but it's okay. Maybe it'll come back to me. Yes, definitely set up an account for yourself. There was, I hate when that happens. And you're like, it's right there. And then it just goes away. It's fine. It'll
Story of
come
my
back
life.
later.
It'll come to me usually at 2 in the morning. I'll wake up and be like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, look at that.
exactly. So fine. It'll come back or it won't. And either way, such is life. Also, oh, that's what it was. Dang it. I was hoping it would come back. So, something else you can do, or I would highly recommend, if you don't have a business account, but you want to start chunking out your expenses related to your business, do a credit card or like something that's separated from the rest of and from the rest of your expenses and it's dedicated just to that, because then it makes it really simple, right? That everything related to your business is tied to this credit card. It also probably will be a good way to actually budget yourself and limit
Yep.
yourself to a specific amount. Not recommended you do a credit card that has $10,000 unless you have $10,000 to play with. Sure, then do that. Maybe do
And
a
it's
credit card that,
also a
yeah.
way for, in case you're audited again, you have the itemized
Mhm.
list right there instead of receipts.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything in that space is dedicated to your business expenses. So it keeps it really simple. It's easy to parse out. You don't have to worry about, oh, I use this to pay the light bill, but also I use this to pay for my subscription to, I don't know, Small Business Association monthly or whatever. So you can keep that separate. So that's another really good way to do it. Just something to keep in mind. I know we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. We started talking workstations and we'll rein ourselves back in, but these are really relevant thoughts that we wanted to share. So consider this bonus content.
Yeah, look at us go.
But exactly. So back to like workstation setup. So one I've mentioned, iPad. Personally, love it. I'm very happy with it. Then I have the virtual PC that I pair with it. So I actually have two computers, not just one. And also, to that point, if you needed to have multiple computers, you can purchase as many as you want. I only need the two, but maybe for whatever reason you need three or four. This works especially well if you have an actual small business with employees and they're all remote or virtual and you want to offer them that option. You can totally do that because guess what? You get to write it off anyway.
Yep.
Something to think about. You can set that up. I do all of my own IT admin stuff. You may need to call Microsoft to help to get that set up. So I set up my own virtual PC, but it's not something that you have to do for yourself. I would just definitely reach out to Microsoft. You can even get some type of, depending on the level of service, you can get it so that you have your own technical support and things like that. So don't feel like you're totally on your own with this. There are definite ways to get the help you need, especially if you're just starting out and you don't know where to begin. But I personally, I'm a huge fan of my virtual PC. Best decision I made, not looking back.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
also
one.
have two computers, which is a lifesaver.
Hmm. Yep, because you're gonna have your day job. Like I said, the not saying everyone. I don't know what the percentage is. Maybe at some point we should look it up. There's a percentage of people who have day jobs and they freelance. I would say
Yep,
it's
and
it's
that's
a
why
high
I have,
percentage.
yep, I have one day job computer and one freelance computer.
I suspect it's a high percentage. I could be
Yeah,
wrong,
I would think, yep.
but I think it is, especially the way the economy is going. Jesus,
Yeah.
I suspect that it's a high percentage. And people call it different things. People say, "Oh, I have a side hustle," or "I have this side job." It's the same thing, people.
Yes.
It's freelancing. Those are all just freelancing. Those are just terms for freelancing because you're not doing it during a traditional work schedule. You're doing this on the side or as opportunity and time permits. So that's freelancing.
Should we start? Because I know should we start on Amazon, do you think?
Yeah, in a minute. But I think the other thing that
Oh,
we
I'm
forgot
sorry.
to
I thought
talk
we were,
about. No, no,
I'm
we
so
were almost.
excited. No.
We also forgot to mention because I know it seems like we glossed it over, and we'll probably go over it again. But in addition to having two computers, you might need multiple monitors because I think that's important to
Yeah,
mention.
I forgot
And
about that. Sorry about that.
no, no, please, no sorries in this dojo.
Oh,
No.
that's right.
So,
I forgot.
um, So yeah, so we want to talk about how to set up your optimal corner. So I have two offices, so to speak, within our home. So I have an office or a corner nook. I call it a corner nook because it's really within a room. So I have a nook that is specifically primarily for podcasting, which is where I am right now. Hubby, and he's going to probably want to slide under the covers that I'm mentioning him right now, but I'm gonna do it anyway. He is an audio engineer and he helped me set up my podcast corner. So yesterday we put the finishing touches. We have the foam here and the microphone is all set up, and I'll take a picture at some point to show you guys. So I'm trying to be legit over here, guys. So this is the little corner where the podcasting happens, and then I do have a monitor as well. So if I want to switch back and forth, it works well because maybe I don't need to just once I'm done recording, I'm going to do some tweaking. But then I have another office nook where I have my multiple monitors set up, and the reason why multiple monitors are helpful, in case you're wondering, is you might often have to multitask. And I think multitask will make it more universal, not just to editing, but if you have to work on multiple things at once, having more than one monitor is going to help you do that. Because we edit and proofread, we have to compare text quite often. It's not impossible to do with a single screen. It's helpful to have two screens up. The other way becomes helpful because we do have a little trick that we alluded to last week that we use for comparing text. But the other way that having two monitors is helpful is if you have a style guide that you have to refer back to, then you can actually use that and have it up on one screen while you're looking at the content on the other screen. So it's just a good way without having to, that sounds horrible. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Hopefully not bad. But anyway, so you can put up the reference document on one screen and then review the content on the other screen. Just super helpful if you have to have multiple windows open. My personal fave is Sidetrack. Again, they're not sponsoring this post yet, but Sidetrack is amazing. My initial computer that I had set up, I actually added two monitor screens. They were attachable actually. They had magnetic plates, and I attached them to my laptop. And that gave me two additional screens that were foldable so I can carry them with me anywhere. And then suddenly I went from one screen to three, which was awesome. Now recently I decided to, because things evolve, and now with the freelancing and a lot of the other ventures I have happening, I've switched to a standalone Sidetrack monitor, and I have two of those, and they're super portable, super lightweight, and I can attach them to any of my other devices, which I love. It has its own sound system, so I don't need to plug in a speaker to it. Love them. And that is like my latest evolution. And so I use them quite a bit, especially for the day job. I will use that because I have to be able to compare content. I think I told Sam about it, and actually, Sam got an even better option. So, Sidetrack is, I would call them the Cadillac option. They're pretty pricey, but Sam, maybe you could tell them about what you ended up getting for yourself that is actually much more economical. And honestly, if I'd known about it, I probably would have gone with it.
Yeah, so I'm on the other end of the spectrum with a setup because I have a super tiny house. So my setup, like right now, I'm podcasting from a comfy chair with,
Nice.
with my laptop on a pillow. So my office is the kitchen table. We have a huge, actually custom made kitchen table. Hold on a second. Ripley, stop trying to contribute. We have a
Later.
huge table that is like a picnic table, so to speak. So I'm like one end of it, and I have my two laptops side by side. And I also bought a portable monitor,
Nice.
which I love. I think it's 15.6, and it has a little case, and it's almost one of those iPad cases where they help you stand up so you can watch and view. So
Nice.
that's what the monitor does. And it hooks up to either laptop I can do, and I love it because I can just put it right next to my laptop instead of looking at a monitor that's straight ahead.
Yeah.
And for me, with like eye issues, I have a hard time seeing sometimes. And I had bought a big monitor to help me with that, but for some reason it bothered me even more.
Yeah.
So that's when I found the standalone, and I can move it wherever I need it and I can take it with me. So I love it.
Awesome. And I think it was like pretty inexpensive, right? It was like under $100, right?
Yeah, I think it was like, I'm
I,
looking it up right now.
yeah.
I think it was like, I got it on sale, and let me just look. I can give you the actual price. But my setup works for me because constantly have to do stuff while freelancing, like around the house. And one day we hope to get a house that's larger and I can have my own little office.
Yes,
But
definitely.
this works for me. And then I can yell at people from where I am, specifically my husband, who he's always on dog duty to keep them quiet. She just dragged them into the bedroom right now. Oh, actually, no, it was under 200. It was a 17.3 actually, portable
Oh, you have
monitor.
the real swanky one.
Yeah, with the USB-C, so it
Nice.
hooks in so that it's compatible with Mac and all other good things. It was $179.
Okay.
But
And
they
and
have like different sizes. So like the smaller one is 76.99.
there you
I
go.
just decided to, and that one is, I'm looking at the size, that's 14 inches, which I don't think is bad for 76.99. I feel like I'm a salesperson. And then you can go up to 13.3 for 150. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm not even going to say a brand because then it sounds like I'm trying to sell it.
Yeah, and to Sam's point, they have price points for everyone. I've seen some not mainstream brands, if you will, that are going for as low as 40 something bucks for something between blah, 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 something between 12 and 14 inches. Something to think about, definitely, especially if you're just getting started and want to know where to start. Having more than one monitor is going to come in very handy, especially if you're doing 100% freelance. If you can keep it to one device, it's going to make your life so much easier not having to have multiple laptops. You may not be able to, especially if you still have a day job. However, yeah, there's definitely some options out there. Highly recommend you check them out. I'm sure it's not just Amazon, but that's just like where we all are.
Yeah. And this
So,
is a brand that is not widely known. I just went by the ratings as well. So it was like 4.5 out of 5 with
mhm,
8,000 ratings.
yep.
So
So,
yeah, it was,
yeah,
and I plan to enter my own rating because I love it.
yeah, awesome. And then also to that point, I will say just one additional thing, peripheral accessories. So with my iPad, I do have the standard keyboard that you can purchase to pair with your iPad, but I also have a portable keyboard that I recently purchased because sometimes you want the full keyboard experience. If you guys know anything about the iPad and the keyboard that you can purchase with it, it's much more compressed, not in a bad or uncomfortable way. It's different. Sometimes you just want the full keyboard experience. I certainly do, and so I purchased a full keyboard. What I love about this one is it folds into this small square, but it folds out to a full keyboard. And so that one is wireless. It's Bluetooth, I should say. And so I can connect it. And that's the other reason why I love the iPad, because there are so many things I can connect to it. So I can connect my keyboard. I also have a Bluetooth mouse that I connect to it because the trackpad, especially if you do a lot of work online, it can get exhausting and you get almost like a little rug burn on your fingertips if you're constantly having to move stuff around. So I decided to splurge for a Bluetooth mouse that has its own trackball, which is amazing. So I am a big fan of any peripheral accessories that will help make your job easier. You'll just have to figure out what those are for your needs. I also have an Apple Pencil because sometimes I like to, when I'm writing, sometimes I like the feel of handwriting, although it converts it to type text. But something else to think about. I have found, because I did try to go the cheap route, just to be honest, and I did try to purchase a non-Apple Pencil. It lasted me all of 2 months, maybe. Just I think it's something about the compatibility of it. I would not be surprised if there's something that they've written into their code that makes it so that it's hard to work with non-Apple products. So I just went ahead and splurged for an Apple Pencil, which are pricey, I'll be honest. They're like one something. but I love it and I haven't had to replace it since. So that's all I got for peripherals for now, I think. You got anything, Sam?
Nope. Nope, because I just usually use my laptop and then hook up my screen when needed because I need to lean forward to look at things closely as I get older, which works
Oh,
for
the
me. And I
joys.
find I actually find more errors when I'm like up close.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, that's our spiel on workstations. I know we talked about potentially putting up pictures, but we're not going to do that today. But we will try to find some sample layouts that mirror what we have, and then we could share those with you at
Yes,
some point.
exactly.
So,
But
yeah. So I think that's all we're going to talk about when it comes to workstations, which then leads us to our next topic.
yeah, I know it's already, I don't know, should we save that for next week or should we go with it?
Let's see. We've got, it's up to you. We got like 20 minutes, I think. So if it works for you, works for me, but we can push
Oh,
it a
I
little
have my time wrong. Just disregard me. I'm just gonna I feel like that Homer Simpson meme where I'm just gonna slowly go back in the bushes.
bit. Yeah, I was just looking at, I had to confirm, to be fair. I didn't pull this. Oh, I just know exactly how much time we have. I clicked on the Teams meeting to see the countdown
Oh,
time.
there it is. I'm an idiot.
So
Or sorry, whimsical. I'm whimsical.
you're exactly. We don't say idiots around here. We don't call each
No,
other idiots.
whimsical.
We call ourselves whimsical when we do something silly. Look at us being whimsical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will intro the topic and Sam is going to, we're going to riff, is we're going to do. We like to banter, as we say. I just use that very inappropriately, but it's okay because I was talking it, I wasn't writing it, so it's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
So we're going to go with it. So, as I mentioned, I came across something recently that really chapped my hide, really chapped my hide.
Burns the biscuits.
And I wanted to talk about it because it was so misleading and it really bothered me. I'm not going to put this person out on blast because I wouldn't want them to do it to me or anyone else for that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
But I,
we will never, anything that's happened to us with companies, recruiters, or anything like that, we'll never blast them. We'll
which
just,
makes them very fortunate, doesn't it? Makes them
yes,
very
especially
fortunate.
since they would blast us given the opportunity, I'm sure.
Here, when they go low, we go high most days.
And I think to that point, I know this is just a little aside, is eventually with this podcast, we want to be able to create a community where freelancers can link up with
Yes,
companies, but we will
yes,
only recommend companies that we've vetted or that we've had experience with or other people have had experience with, like good experiences. We will
yes,
not include any sort of companies that we've dealt with that have been awful. So,
exactly. If we
so
wouldn't
that's
want,
how, in a way, yeah.
yeah, if we wouldn't work for them, we wouldn't want you to work for them
And
either.
we would never
So,
recommend, we have a bunch of, we have actually a large, our own personal community of freelancers, which who we hope to have on one day eventually as we get going, like
yes.
some guests, like actually
Hmm.
people that we know, like recruiters, fellow freelancers, like different kind of perspectives, even not even relating to freelance, but can filter into that.
Yeah.
But as we get growing and everything, like that's our hope. So that's our workaround for keeping you safe, so to speak.
Yes. And speaking of growth, I just wanted to shamelessly shout ourselves and pat ourselves on the back because we thought this was really cool. And maybe this is what happens to every person when they're just starting out. But I was just checking their analytics the other day and I was sharing this with Sam. And we're getting listeners in Germany and the UK. And that kind of blew me away. And
Yeah, I know it blew my mind. I was like, that would be awesome if we could get like a global pool of freelance.
and so to those listeners in Germany and the UK, hello from across the pond.
Yes, and thank you
Hello.
so much. And also too, like we may be able to bring them over for opportunities here due to time
Yes,
zones.
exactly.
And obviously experience and everything like that. But sometimes the time zones are huge because clients on Pacific time
Oh
and
yeah.
I used to work for a UK company and it worked
Hmm.
for me because I loved getting up early and signing off earlier. So there's stuff like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Sam's point, in addition to the sharply cheaper rates that companies get overseas, I'll use India as an example. the time zone is very different there from here. I know I'm stating the obvious, so I'm not saying this. Did you guys know? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a heavy attraction to having companies that have opposing time zones because they can get the work done while you're essentially sleeping. And so a lot of companies, that is a big draw for them. So that's something to think about as you're thinking about freelancing. You may want to consider having some freelancers or contractors that work overseas because that'll be
Yep.
to your advantage. You don't
And
have
also
to, yeah.
multilingual too,
Oh,
so
oh yeah.
which is
Let's, yeah,
huge.
absolutely. So something to think about, you can actually stand out because you can say, hey, I'm based in the US, sure, but guess what? I have talent that is based in India or wherever the case is. And so they can get the work done for you and have it ready by morning. That is another way you can make yourself stand out. I've actually worked with contractors all over the globe, funnily enough, but that's a story for another day.
And
But yeah,
also
so
holidays too.
yeah,
Holidays can diff.
mhm,
So when
yep,
we're off, companies are looking for fill-ins. So that's also
exactly.
another huge thing.
Yeah. So thank you for those listening internationally. That's pretty cool. We hope you keep coming back. We hope that we provide you content that is useful always. And feel free to shout out in the comments where you're from, because that it would be cool to put like people to countries, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, and that will create our community even more, and it'll be nice to have international perspective, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, just wanted to shout that out. And then back to the topic at hand,
Yes,
right?
back to what
So
burns your biscuits.
taps my head. Yes. So I came across a post on a social media platform. I will not say which. It was a video talking about the fact, obviously, first, let's start with the fact it was clickbait because the video said, I don't publish on Amazon KDP. For those of you who don't know what that is, Amazon KDP is Amazon's publishing slash printing arm. KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And the reason it piqued my interest is because I am a published author. I'm not saying this because I'm like, hey guys, look at me. I'm saying this because I have published a lot of books on Amazon and specifically through self publishing through the Amazon KDP platform. And it has worked really well for me. I haven't published hundreds of books, to be clear, but I have published more books than probably the average individual. So I've always used Amazon because it is free. Yes, it is free. It is easy to work with if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying that it's like you're going to just close your eyes and hit a button and it's going to happen magically, but it has worked really well for me. The way that they collect their money, obviously, is through royalties, but we can talk about that another day. So for me personally, love Amazon in terms of their printing arm is a great way for you to self-publish if you're not going with a traditional publisher. And we can debate the merits of yes to self-publish or not. But if you're waiting for someone to knock on your door, a big publisher or something like that, before you publish your book, why not just publish your book and see what happens? That's what
Yeah,
I do.
exactly.
And so love Amazon for that. I actually have started really seriously publishing content, book content, since 2021. It hasn't been that long, actually. I finally decided to start putting myself out there. And I still have sales for content I published in 2021. Highly recommend. It's a great way to build side income. But anyway, back to the story at hand. This individual said, I no longer use Amazon KDP. I've stopped using it. And so I decided to listen to what they had to say. And it was 100%. It was very, what I said, I think it was either to you or to my husband, I said it was very bait and switchy. And the reason I said that is because once you started listening to what they were saying, they actually were not saying that they don't use Amazon anymore. What they said actually was, what I do is I have this landing page, and when somebody places an order for my product on this landing page, I go to Amazon and
Yeah,
I
that was the weird one.
fulfill the
Yeah.
order. And I'm like, okay, so basically you're making a statement first saying, I don't use Amazon KDP. You're starting there, which it wasn't true. You actually do, but you've made yourself the middleman, which is Oh, goofy on so many levels, but we're not going to get into that right now. The one thing
No, I
that
hate when I hate when there's untruths, especially for people starting out.
uh, it's so
Like
frustrating and so infuriating at the same time.
Nicole and I always say, go with your gut of how you think the best. And please, we giving you a wealth of advice as well, but go with your gut and how you think you should best promote yourself and your work. Like Nicole's
Yeah,
done
exactly.
wonders and has been super successful with promoting her awesome work because she's actually brilliant, in case you didn't know
Oh,
that. For me,
yeah.
I don't do any like writing or anything, but my child will be 17, is an anime artist. So we find ways to promote them that
Oh
may
my
be
gosh.
different.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I was super excited about what you were sharing because if you guys don't know, they are the ones who do all of our covers for our YouTube videos, actually, for all of our episodes. That's how good they are. So, in case you're wondering, that is the brainchild genius behind the covers. Okay, sorry, go on.
Oh, that's okay. They actually found a pool of freelancers of their type of anime art.
Nice.
So through word of mouth and building their own reputation, actually on TikTok, like Nicole, you just did something on TikTok.
Mhm.
So that's another platform you may want to use. And I'm not promoting TikTok or anything, but that was like the springboard for them there's a pool of them and they actually commission each other. So
Nice.
if one person has a character that they like to draw, they may want to see their character in a different style. So then they'll commission my child to do it,
Nice.
and then from there, they've been asked to design characters for gaming, for books. That's another way. It's like you could try to use TikTok a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. There, yes, highly recommend TikTok. I find that for some, me personally, I could be wrong here, but I find that you can get the content out to the people, to your audience a lot more efficiently. And I think it's because the way they set up their algorithm, and I won't go too far down the weeds here, we could probably do that for a separate day, but it's much more accessible. So it makes it easier for you to reach your audience, if that makes sense. A lot more places now, a lot of the social media platforms have what I call a pay to play model, which means that you have to pay advertising to even get your content in front of your subscribers, which is crazy to me. I have a particular platform, I'm blanking out on what it's called. I have a page that I manage on a platform. I won't say which because anyway. The point is, I have a page that has nearly 500,000 subscribers. And I say this to say, because that sounds like, oh my God, that is amazing. Why are you even here? One, the platform itself only recently started monetizing content. I'm talking about Facebook, in case you're wondering. I'm okay saying that. They only started monetizing content recently. So I have this page that has nearly 500,000 subscribers, but even though I have that many, they only see my content if I promote it, which is goofy. These people subscribe for the content, but they'll only see it if I pay them to see it. So that is what I mean when I say
Oh,
pay to
okay.
play. And I've had people say that, hey, I didn't even know that you had content that you had posted. And it's because that's the way Facebook is set up. If you don't pay them, you have to pay them for them to open the gate so that your subscribers who already said they want to see your content can see your content. That sounds goofy, right? It is, because it is. So just saying, I've only started using TikTok recently. I have found that I have much more immediate engagement and I am not paying a single dime. And I think that's what makes it valuable because I think then you're probably going to want to spend money to actually reach an even bigger audience because you can see the value in it already. Whereas in other platforms like Facebook, you have to pay them for them to make it. But that's just, it sounds so silly as I'm saying it, but that's literally what happens. You have to pay for people to see your content. I'm noticing LinkedIn is going in that direction as well, which is also really goofy. But anyway, we can spend, I'll go down a rabbit hole. So let me just cut myself off right now and just say that TikTok is a great platform if you're trying to reach your audience quickly. You'll see an uptick if you have content that is engaging, obviously. You'll see an uptick in views. You'll feel a little bit more encouraged and motivated to keep cranking out content.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Totally agree.
Even if it's just at first, like a couple
Yeah,
people can multiply into thousands of people eventually. You just have to give it time. That's that's the
absolutely.
main thing.
Yeah, I've been on TikTok less than a month and I'm already up to 53 follows on there, which is, like I said, I'm just starting out and I know it doesn't sound like much, but if you're talking about posting content, having people reach you organically, that's pretty good for just a starting out point. Yeah, so back to this rant. So this was the other thing that really, and this is what made me say, okay, we need to talk about this on our pod. So this individual said the reason why they decided, let's be clear, the reason why they decided to make themselves the middleman, which is what they've done, or the middle person. Let me correct myself, sorry.
Yep.
Why they decided to make themselves the middle person is because they make more money by doing that. So let me break down what they're doing. Let's use an example. Customer A finds their landing page and likes their product and decides, oh, I'm going to purchase their product. Okay. So they place an order. That order then doesn't go to Amazon, it goes to the creator or the individual in question, the middle person, call them. So now they have to take and fulfill that order. And the way they do that is they go to Amazon where they have their product, although they said that they did not. They go to Amazon and they purchase an author copy of the content and then they send it to the individual in question. Now, I'm not sure, I hope that at least they're shipping the author copy to the individual and not to themselves first. I'm unclear on that. But they purchase an author copy and then they ship it to the individual that requested it. Now, if you own, oh, sorry for that. So then because they're saying that they make more money. So they're saying, oh, I'm just going to throw out a random number to not give away too much. Let's say the book sells for 20,000. Jesus, I hope not. Let's say the book
I want to
sells for,
write that book. Yeah.
let's say the book is selling for $20, right? And then they get a purchase order and then their cost, and this is legit, they put this on the screen, they say that their shipping or their deduction cost was less than $1. And so that they make essentially 19, $18. Think about that, guys. What company exists that lets you ship a product for less than $1? I'll
Yeah,
wait.
and it's so misleading for people starting out too, because
I'll
in
wait.
realistically speaking, you have to pay for like paper or not even paper, but like printing costs.
Oh yeah.
If it's a like
Yes.
if it's a physical copy that you're selling, paper,
And
printing.
thank you, Sam. Exactly. So that you're leading perfectly into the next part of this. So they claim that their deduction was only less than $1, but hey, what about printing costs? Who's eating that? To be clear, and I was so incensed, guys, that I went to Amazon. I was like, no, I've got to figure this out for myself. And so I went in and I simulated ordering an author copy for one of my books. And so one of my paperbacks sells for $7.99, right? And so when I did the calculation of the cost of it, it was less than half. So they still have to charge you for producing the product. So why aren't we talking about the expense of producing it? Because to be clear, you cannot do a middle person fulfillment if you're doing an ebook. If it's a digital copy, this is not going to work because unless maybe it does. Maybe you're just willy nilly sending out copies of your ebook, which is pointless because then anyone can copy it. So that is not what she was talking about. What they were talking about. they, were, they were talking about a physical copy of your product. So there is not just shipping costs, which again, $1, that's unheard. That just doesn't exist. You're not going to ship your book for less than $1.
No,
And,
unless you're
and
like driving to the person's house and dropping it off. Yeah.
or maybe you can, maybe you have this like lucrative arrangement with UPS or some other like third party person, but I just don't see it. So let's say for the sake of argument, let's just pretend it's $1. or whatever the amount was. Let's say it was 85 cents. You still have to factor in the printing cost. So that is a cost. Amazon is not eating that cost. You are. So you're only going to make the cost minus the printing cost. So I'm not making $7. Let's just pretend that, oh, my shipping was 99 cents just to make it clean. Okay, fine. Shipping is 99 cents. I'm not making $7. They're still going to take the cost of producing the book. Hello. So you're going to make about maybe $3 to $4 off of that. Of course, I'm blanking out on what the actual cost was, but it is less than it is, maybe half. Let's just pretend it's half. That is not minus 99 cents, guys. That is half of the cost. And then think about the fact, let's say your book is really popular. What if everybody wants your book? Are you really going to go in there and do 1,000 orders yourself by hand
Nope, you'll
and
have
then
to do
ship
a
them out to a
company and
thousand
then,
places?
yep,
Then you're
that's
gonna
going to cost a
exactly
lot of money.
and start
Plus, you have
adding
to
that up.
factor in also advertising costs if you do that. Plus,
Right.
however you like iStock imagery, if you use that for your cover.
Thank you. Like all of
Um,
those things
yeah, because then you have to pay for book covers for a certain, that can get expensive because you have to pay for the rights to use it.
very quickly. Even just thinking about from the perspective, let's just say for funs and giggles that you
Shiggles.
are shiggles, there you go, that you're spending 99 cents per book to ship it. That's $1,000 if you're doing 1,000 copies. And that's not even counting what they're going to take off the top for shipping out those individual books. And it's probably going to go up because if I remember correctly, there isn't prime shipping from what I saw for author copies. You can do prime shipping if you're like an end user, but if you're the author trying to create author copies, that's not on a 2-day prime shipping. So you're going to pay whatever the shipping freight cost is for wherever the destination is. So what I'm saying, it is so irresponsible to tell people half truths. It is,
Yes.
and it just chaps my hide to no end to see content like that because you're not telling people the truth. It's no better than the companies that are out there at the top of the Google search results where they're saying, get your EIN for $200 when it's free
Yep.
from the freaking IRS. It is so
It
irresponsible to
is.
do that.
It's like taking advantage of newcomers to
Right.
the
And
highest degree, I feel. Especially also just quickly because it's just hit me like with the
yeah,
shipping. What if it's international?
hello. You're going to pay 99
Like,
cents to ship internationally?
yeah,
Where
like
do they do that?
seriously.
Where?
Is it
I'd
like
love to know.
carrier pigeon? I don't know.
There are a
Like,
school of pigeons that are trained to just go to
yes,
separate
trade like
different
or like
countries.
Harry Potter, like an owl.
Come on.
But no, that I was just thinking as me, like I would be a newcomer to that and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, like you have stars in your eyes because you're going to be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to make $19 off my $20 book." And then you start crunching numbers and be like, "Oh my God, I
Mhm.
can make this in a month." No.
You cannot.
Mm.
Exactly. And then, of course, they follow up with, oh, if you want more details, just purchase my toolkit.
Ugh.
Just come on, guys, do better. That is so not right.
Yeah, help your fellow people.
Don't do that. And obviously, to be clear, I am not getting a commission from Amazon. Not in this way. Sure, I make money off of Amazon, but they're not paying me to say what I'm saying.
No,
What
none
I'm
of the
saying,
things that we mention are we being like paid for or asked to promote. This is just like what we
exactly.
use. So we're just sharing like the products that we use.
Yeah, like there'll be a goofball and say, I don't use Amazon anymore because I use Amazon. Like, really?
Yeah.
What? That's not how that works. And then also, not to mention, you're going to have to create a website to have this landing page. So now you've added on more costs because
Oh,
most
I didn't
websites
realize
are
that.
not free. So you're going to have to pay to maintain a website. And that's assuming that you are savvy enough to create. I'm not saying you're not, but you're going to have to spend time to create a website when all you have to do if you want to sell on Amazon is upload your doggone content and sell it on Amazon if you're selling books. Like that is that easy. And I'm not saying, and we can do a whole other topic or pod just on how you actually were to publish your content on Amazon, because I've done enough of these to know how to do it. But it is not as daunting as it sounds. You need obviously a compelling description. You don't have a cover, Amazon has a cover generator. True story. And if you don't want to create your own cover, if you want something simple, Amazon will do it for you. Granted, you will not own the cover, to be clear. And if you want to sell it somewhere other than Amazon, you're going to have to create your own cover. But if you're just starting out, that's a good way to go.
Yeah,
And
to
you have
start it,
no
and then you
overhead,
can,
right? You
yeah,
got no
and then you can
inventory.
burgeon like getting someone to design a cover if you can't.
Imagine, just this is so
Imagine a
ridiculous.
world where
Yeah, imagine having a system that is already optimally designed to fulfill your book orders and saying, I want to add a layer and complicate it.
it's like a
That's what I
Jurassic,
want
we
to do.
need the Jurassic Park theme song. Welcome to
Like,
the world of
who does, why would you want to do that to yourself? You use Amazon, you list your book on Amazon, they do the order fulfillment for you. End of story. You don't have to worry about shipping costs. That does not get factored in. In fact, the shipping cost, guess what? Goes to the customer, which is what you want. When you're
Yes.
creating
Oh
an
my God, I
author
didn't even think of
copy,
that. Like,
hello. When
yeah,
you're
because I
creating an
pay
author
shipping. So
copy, you're
yeah.
paying the shipping. It is you.
Yes.
Not them, it is you paying the shipping. And so now you've introduced additional expenses when all you had to do is say, you know what? I'm going to take myself out of the equation. I don't want to be the fulfillment center. I'm going to let Amazon, the experts, do it for me. That's what I'm going to do. Just a thought.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Like, I'm just saying, don't make things harder for yourself. I have the only expenses I have had for my books have been advertising. Do you know how amazing that is? Actually two specific expenses associated with books that I have published: time and advertising. That is it. And if you don't want to
And that's
advertise,
perfect.
then all you have is time. That's all you're spending is time to write the book, to flesh it out, to review it. And then yeah, you might also not be so lucky to have a stellar editor in your corner that is amazing and will edit your content for you. So you might have to spend money on editing.
Thank you.
Yes. You
But
might have to.
also, if you find a designer just starting out, the rates for designers aren't too bad for that.
Yeah.
Depending on
And
the
it's,
intricacies of the cover that you like, I would be willing to help someone out who's starting out.
yes, you heard it here, guys. So I'm telling you, don't, if it sounds too good to be true, guys, it usually
Hmm.
is. No one can sell a book for $20 and make $19. That is not a thing that exists.
No.
Unless, no, not even unless. No, full stop. Full stop. Because if you're selling your book, let's say you don't have a publisher, and that is typically when you can keep the most money. Oh my gosh, this was something else I just remembered that they said that really also chapped my hide. They mentioned that you basically make no money on Amazon in terms of royalties, that they're going to keep the bulk of it. It depends. You can actually sell your book for 70% royalty. That's pretty damn good.
Oh my God,
70%
yeah.
royalty, that is pretty unheard of. They actually twisted it around. There is, I will be clear, because they said, oh, you can only get 30% royalties on Amazon. Not true. Here's where the caveat is, and this is why it's so important to do your due diligence or come here if you have questions. But yes, Amazon does have a 30% royalty breakdown if you decide to enroll in KDP Select. So they have a program called KDP Select, which one, it allows you to tap into they have a KDP Select fund so that you get a portion of the proceeds every month if you are in the KDP Select program, at least for the time period that you're in there. And number two, it means that you only exclusively sell your product on Amazon, your book. I've decided to do that for this last book I just published. So that means that for the next 90 days, I cannot sell my book anywhere else but Amazon. But one, it gives me exclusive access to their fund. Number two, it also helps me get more visibility on Amazon. And number three, I can run promotions I typically wouldn't be able to run it on Amazon because I'm in this KDP Select program. However, that means also that I can only do 30% royalty for that time period. That doesn't mean I can't change it. So that's a really cool thing about it. Sure, for 3 months, I can only do 30% royalty. But once the time period is up, if I decide I don't want to continue in KDP Select, I can bump my royalty breakdown to 70%. But let's be clear
And that's
about that
awesome.
misinformation. 30%, yes, if you are in the KDP Select program. But if not, you can do up to 70%. It is entirely up to you. Now, also, obviously, it depends on how much your book costs, and then that will break down differently depending on the different markets. But yes, you have two options, 30% or 70%. You're not going to find that with a traditional mainstream publisher. Newsflash, you're not. That is 100% one of the highest royalty breakdowns in the market, period.
Yep, and
Because
I work in the publishing industry on the side, and the author has to pay for, through a publisher, has to pay for the editing. So
yes,
that cuts down on what they'll make, and it's an hourly rate, so it could end up being quite a lot, for especially for smaller books,
yeah, they're going to make their
believe it or
money back.
not. Yeah.
And the average, and correct me if I'm wrong, and it's been a while since I've looked this up, I think the average breakdown is like 25% for author. Like you get 25 and the publisher gets 75%. And
I
yes,
think
it
you're
will
correct. Yeah.
vary. And then we can also get into vanity publishers, which I won't do today because that's a whole other story. And I would 100% call those scam adjacent. Sorry, not sorry. Yes. So we're gonna get into we're gonna get into vanity publishers because that's a whole other thing I want you guys to be wary of. And at the end of the day, yes, I know I'm talking about publishing, but this also ties into freelancing. I have actually seen people who quit their jobs because their self-publishing books were doing so well. Wouldn't that be awesome, guys? If you had like a book that you really had on your heart to share and you published it, you're a little lonesome and you're making more money per month on your book than you are at work. That's like goals
That's
for me.
huge. Yep, that's what she said, but that's
That is
huge.
woohoo. Yes,
Woo.
it is. So we share that because it is 100% appropriate for this context. That is freelancing. Writing books and you're when you on the weekend, like I like to do, that's freelancing. Or
Yep,
in the evenings, that's it, guys.
freelancing.
It's all ultimately going to lead to income that is outside of your traditional 9 to 5. So, yes, we're going to talk about it because we have a lot of experience in this space. I actually worked for a local publisher. I think I mentioned this in my origin story for a decade. I still consider him a mentor and I still keep in touch. And he's been super supportive of this last venture I've taken on, this last book venture. So, we want to share this content with you. We're not going to charge you and say, hey, if you want to learn the skinny, just pay us a subscription fee every month. We're not going to do
Yeah,
that.
no,
We might have some exclusive content down the road. We haven't figured that out yet. But what you hear, see what I did there? That was clever.
that was amazing.
What you hear is free. We want you to have the access to it because we don't want you to be those people like. And what was sad about this particular individual I'm referring to, there were so many people that are so happy and excited. Oh my gosh, this was such a timely post because they had no idea exactly what they were signing up for by following this very ill-advised approach. Very
Yeah.
ill-advised. You don't have to do that. Can you imagine having no startup? Like you can have your book published tomorrow for $0. All you need is an Amazon account. And to be clear, it's not even that you have to have anything extravagant. Oh, I have to be a publisher. No, you can be little you. And
Yep,
as long
just
as you
give
have
it a
an Amazon,
go.
you can create it. So just please be mindful, guys. Please, if you have questions about book publishing, about self publishing, about freelancing, please post a comment. Ask us away. We are happy to share our
Experiences.
expertise.
Yep.
That's what we're here for. And we know quite a bit about this space.
And we'd like to
And
save you
yeah,
from not doing anything, but being taken advantage of, basically.
yeah,
Because we've been
exactly.
there where it's happened.
Yeah, and it bothers me. And I will say, like, this particular, I think what made it even worse was that they were purporting to be I won't reveal too many, but they were purporting themselves to be a trustworthy individual because of something that they stated. And I find that when people make certain statements about things that they uphold or believe in, people are more likely to drop their guard and just, oh, this person, if this person is this, then yeah, it must be legit or they must be telling the truth and we have my best interests at heart.
No, they
Don't do that.
basically
Like,
only have their own interests at heart. And
yeah,
we
and
want to
also,
avoid you having things that chap your
yes, like and when we come across things that tap our highs and collectively burn our biscuits, we're going to talk about it because we're trying to help you avoid it. And if you're that person that's doing clickbait episodes, stop it.
Yeah.
Like,
Shame
I
on
get it.
you.
Like, just, I get it. You want to game the algorithm. And if you notice, our posts are just whatever we're going to talk about. That's what's in the episode title.
Yeah,
That's how we
exactly.
roll up in here. There's no gotchas. Like, yes, we will meander. We love a good meander while we're talking, and we will go down little side roads and talk about things that we
Those are the
didn't
best
initially plan
kind
to
of
talk
things.
about.
Like, yeah.
But we love us a good meander over here, and I think you'll enjoy them
Yep.
as well. Which,
I
it's
hope
just
so.
bonus
It's kind of
content.
like the thing where if we don't say it now, we won't remember. So that's why we
Exactly.
that's why
Yes.
we go
To be
down
clear.
our little paths.
Yes, to be clear, we're both at a mature age, and
Yeah.
so we find that once it
We're at
pops into
a
our
we're
head,
yeah, we're
we have to
at
take
a
advantage of
mature age, but mentally an immature
it.
age.
Exactly. Chronologically speaking, we are mature. Mm. Mentally, not so
Not
much.
so much. Yeah. And we're
And
okay
that's
with
okay.
that.
Yes, yes, we are. We say that a lot, but we're happy to be who we are. And we hope that's why you keep coming back because we really want to just give you some really good content, something that you can use right away. And be mindful of people, especially if someone is out the gate giving you a title of something that's, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Probably a scam. It's at least scam adjacent. Can we agree that it's at least
Yep.
scam adjacent? Because you can't make, you're not going to make a 90% profit. I think like if I do the math really quick in my head, that's
That would be
basically what they would say.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I
We would
can't math
all,
either, but that sounds right. And
we would
yeah, no, if go
all
with
be
your
kicking our
gut,
feet up.
as yeah, as Nicole and I have learned, go with your gut. If you think there might be
Yes.
something wrong, there probably is.
And that's why, and that's really what pulled me in when I saw the title. I'm just like, this looks interesting in not a good way. Let me check it out. And sure enough, it wasn't. Do your due diligence, people. Like, this is all stuff you can find for yourself. So this is all verifiable information. We're just
Yep.
making it easier for you by sharing with you what we know to be true, because that is some BS. Don't
And
throw all the
also, if you
BS
don't
at me.
feel, wait, do they have the option for DMs? Because I'm just saying if they don't feel comfortable asking
Yes.
or putting a comment, and I just wasn't sure. So yeah, feel free to DM us as well.
Yes, off the top of my head, I won't swear to this. I think you could do it on YouTube. As you can tell, we're pretty new to YouTube, so we're still working our way around there. You definitely can send us a private message on LinkedIn. You definitely can send us a private message on Facebook. I want to say that yes, you probably can also do that on YouTube. It seems logical to me, but I wouldn't swear to it because I haven't actually used it. But
I'm gonna test that out
try
and
it.
send you a special message.
You're sending a special message right now. That's exciting.
No, in a moment, probably.
So I want to say you can, but don't quote me on that. I'd have to confirm whether you can actually send us a separate message so that if you're not comfortable, if you're camera shy, so to speak, like we are, which is why you only hear our lovely voices and not see our faces, you can send us a separate message. And I think you can do that on, I feel like you can also do that on YouTube, but I wouldn't swear to it. I'll go back and check and maybe put a, if I remember, if you guys, I don't know if you guys know this by now, which also speaks to our chronological maturity. Sometimes I'll say I'll do a thing and I don't not do it because I am trying to be malicious. I legit forget.
Me too.
And so if I say I'm going to do something like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll post it later, I fully intend to do it, and like my heart is in the right place, I swear. But my brain,
I do this
mm,
to Nicole all the time. She'll ask me for something, and then I'll be like, "Gosh, crap! What did you ask for?"
uh huh. So you might see sometimes our age kind of show. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we say we're going to do something, and you're like, man, at the 9 minute mark, they said that we're going to do this. And where is it? We don't see it anywhere. Just put a comment and hold
Yeah,
us to
just call us
task.
out. Be like, "Hey,
Exactly.
ladies." Yeah.
Hello, did you guys have a brain fart again? And we'd be like, yep, we sure
Yes.
did. We sure did. And we will post the content that you are looking for. So definitely flag it for us if there's something that we mentioned that you're like, oh my God, I really wanted to hear about this. And then you're like, oh, where is it?
So much for that. But just also, if you want us to discuss a certain topic, post that
Yes,
too. And if it's something that we're not familiar with, we will certainly do the research to find answers for you.
absolutely. Yes. We don't know everything there is to know about everything, but we do know how to find it.
Yes.
Sure do.
Perfect. Yes.
All right. I think we have talked way more than what we had planned to, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes that happens, and we
Yeah,
will
and
go
I'm
to
sure
flow.
sometimes we'll have shorter podcasts, so it'll all even
Mhm.
out.
Agree with you.
Yeah, I think one topic we're going to discuss next week, just so I don't forget, so I'm putting it
Yes.
out there, is wait, I'm looking at what I wrote down. See how I do it already?
Yeah.
It was in my brain to announce the topic and then, okay. So sabotage. And what I mean by that is
Oh.
full-time versus freelance in the workplace. Sometimes you run up
Mhm.
against people who are territorial.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so we just wanted to discuss that and how to avoid any sort of altercation,
We're
that
gonna
you
talk
can do
about it.
your job while they do their job, and
Yep.
to be like, hey, I'm not here to replace you. I'm just here to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, that
So,
is such a universal thing, even if it's not freelance versus full time, but it especially happens in those scenarios.
and I'm
And so we
dealing
want
with
to
it,
talk
right?
about
Yeah. So,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Woo! So we'll discuss
Hmm.
that and we'll probably come up with a couple other things to be announced. But thank you so much for listening.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Another shout out to our folks from across the pond. Pew, pew,
Yep.
pew.
And we thank you very
Yeah.
much for your support as we're getting started. So we hope
And the
this is
US folks.
beneficial. Yeah.
Sorry.
What?
I said also that shouting out the US folks. I don't want to
Oh,
anyone to feel left
let's
out.
just say
It was just
everybody.
super
Thank you,
exciting.
everybody.
Yes.
So,
Thank you all for being here. We thank you for coming back every single time. We are committed to coming back here every single time too. So there you go.
yep. We're in our
Yeah.
groove. Okay. Signing off.
All right. Bye.
Bye.